Hello and welcome to History on the Hoof. Today we're between the East Lancashire towns of Nelson and Colne, not far away from the town of Burnley at the edge of the Pennine watershed. Where we are you can see Pendle Hill and the whole swathe of the Calder and Ribble valleys up into the Yorkshire Dales and across to the coast of the Irish Sea. The site we're going to look at is Castercliff, a fortified settlement site which started life in the Iron Age around 500 BC. The name simply means small fort on a hill or promontory, and many of you will recognise the Caister part of its name associated with sites of Roman forts such as Manchester, Lancaster or Chester. It sits close to a very ancient access route over the hill into the Calder Valley and beyond, and forms part of a collection of prehistoric sites in the Forest of Trawden dating back to the Mesolithic. It was first mentioned in 1515, where it was called Castercliff. In modern parlance, it's described as a multi-vallate hillfort, which means it's basically a fortified site with multiple rings of banks and ditches around a flat central area. They are rare, with around 100 recorded in the country, mostly in the Welsh Marches and in the southwest, with a small grouping in the northeast. This being said, they are deemed to be of national importance, and rightly, Castercliff is a scheduled monument. It was built on a natural promontory, about 920 feet above sea level, and measures 377 feet long by 250 feet and covers roughly 4 acres. Apart from the northern side, it is enclosed by 3 rubble ramparts, each up to 5 feet high, with a ditch around 5 feet in front. The width of the whole rampart is 151 feet. On the north side, the defences are incomplete and made up of a single rampart and ditch. However, there are some short lengths of a triple rampart and ditch also visible. Limited excavations of the defences in 1958-60 and 1970-71 indicated that the inner rampart was riveted with stone and had a double row of timber posts, each about 6.5 feet apart. Between the posts were interlaced wooden beams, the middle part filled with earth and stone. The outer rampart was narrower than the inner one and again utilised posts to hold soil and rubble-filled interior, the core filled with clay. The ditch in front of the outer rampart was cut into the bedrock, which combined with the banks topped with a wooden fence would have provided quite a stiff obstacle to attack. Wood from the inner rampart was carbon dated to around 510 BC, plus or minus 70 years. In the centre of the hill fort, post holes were discovered and identified as a possible grain store. Further exploration would be needed to identify any houses and indeed if the site was occupied from an earlier period. From the excavations it would seem that the life of the Iron Age hill fort at least was a short one. Some of the ramparts remain unfinished, combined with the discovery of heavily burnt stone. It would appear that the fort was attacked and taken, perhaps by another tribal or familial group, then burned very thoroughly after capture, vitrifying and cracking stone with the intense heat. The clay of the outer rampart was also found to be very burnt and covered in a layer of charcoal. Some of the burnt timbers were identified as oak. After abandonment, the hill fort became a handy spot for the easy acquisition of stone, especially the burnt bits for sweetening the acidic land round here. The hill fort was also built on top of a coal seam, which was being exploited by Bolton Priory from 1294 for use in their smiths' forges, and of course later, evidence for this early coal extraction in the round donut shapes of bell pits, still very clearly in evidence today. Although it had a short initial life, Castercliff has played a long role in the lives of the Pennine people and remains a unique piece of heritage. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of History on the Hoof, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. If you liked it, please subscribe